74 days of the invasion into Ukraine, and now it appears that the Russian onslaught continues. We are now being told from the ground Russia has attacked a school in eastern Ukraine and over 60 people could be feared dead in the bombing. We'll try and get you more details of the latest on that. But as of now, it appears from the latest on the ground, there has been a Russian onslaught over a school and that 60 people are feared dead. Now, whether this was at that point a functioning school, was it being used as perhaps a bomb shelter, we'll try and get latest on that. But shocking visuals, this is the aftermath. Complete wreckage and debris now of what was school just about a few days ago. Shocking visuals coming in. Remember, 74 days on for Ukraine, despite putting up a strong resistance. One by one, their buildings are turning into debris, rubble and fire. Yes. This only means there's been fierce fighting that continues in besieged Ukrainian cities. Russian forces have fired a cruise missile at the Odessa city on Saturday and bombarded a steel mill plant in Mariupol. Russian forces are perhaps hopeful that they will be able to complete their full conquest of the port city in time. Why? Because there's Victory Day celebrations coming in on Monday. Ukraine, meanwhile, has announced that women, children, older adults have been evacuated from the factory. But Ukraine's military flattened also Russia's positions on a Black Sea island that was captured in the war's first days. And that part has now become a symbol of resistance. But the Ukrainian leaders are warning attacks may intensify and increase in the lead up to Russia's Monday holiday, which is a Victory Day celebration to commemorate Nazi Germany's defeat 77 years ago. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging people to heed, meanwhile, to the air raid warning.
Right behind me, you can see the colors, the red and St. George's ribbon, clearly reminding not just Russia but also the world that it was the Soviet that fought the war against Nazi Germany, and that's the message that President Putin will have tomorrow when he addresses the nation. He is going to talk about the Soviet era, the fact that Soviet fought Nazi Germany, and May 9th marks the end of World War II in Europe. It was not the end of World War per se, because that ended with Japan surrendering in September, but May 8th was when Germany surrendered, and therefore this is also called the Patriotic War. Tomorrow the entire lineup will have all the Soviet era armaments, the tanks, the historic the infantry that was part of the war. So there is going to be a lot of show in terms of and reminding Ukraine and the world of what the contribution of Soviet Union was at the time when the world was fighting the World War II. And across the city of Moscow, we see not just Russian flags, Sneha, we see the Soviet banner. That's the Soviet victory flag as well. It's not the Soviet Union flag, but because there is dates that is written on the red banner, but the red banner is up across the city of Moscow, reminding the world that it's Soviet Union that fought Nazi Germany. We've seen the to and fro, the back and forth on which side is more Nazi than the other in the war between Russia and Ukraine, and therefore this certainly is a reminder. So Victory Day, the patriotic war that was fought by the Soviet Union, is going to be celebrated here in Russia, in Moscow, and Russian President Vladimir Putin will be the chief guest since he commands the armed forces.
Over the last few days, the Russian forces were trying their best to make sure that they can launch an offensive at the Azovstal steel plant. There were several civilians who were trapped there. Russia was blaming that they are being used as human shield. Ukraine, on the other side, was saying that Russia wants to target even civilians. Now that civilians have been evacuated from there, and this is the last place in Mariupol where Ukrainian forces are still, occupying. So it seems that in days to come there will be an offensive launched by the Russian side on the Azovstal steel plant to flush out Ukrainian soldiers who are there, making sure till now that at least the Azovstal steel plants remain in their occupation. Other than this, there are several parts of the Donbass region where there has been a fierce fighting going on over the last few weeks. In fact, the Ukrainian forces have been holding on to some of the key positions, and at the same time, the Russian forces making advancements, trying to make sure they can cut off the supply lines to the Donbass region and occupy the entire area to claim some sort of a victory ahead of Victory Day, which is tomorrow.
Russian forces have been attacking Odessa, fueling speculation that they might want to take the strategic port, which is on the Black Sea. Here's more how the strategic routes being hit could actually become and prove to be more trouble for Ukraine.
Russia sets its eyes on Ukraine's lifeline. Recent missile strikes on Odessa in Ukraine's south is fueling speculation about Russia's plan to take the strategic port on the Black Sea. Odessa, which connects Ukraine to the rest of the world, is being pounded with deadly missiles. The largely Russian-speaking city and the cultural hub has seen increased attacks by Moscow in recent weeks. On the 2nd of May, a teenage boy was killed and several injured in Russian strikes on a residential building.
The war between the armies might be restricted to some battle zones, but residential areas across Ukraine continue to get pounded by Russian missiles. Yet another fresh attack in Odessa, the all-important port town in south of Ukraine, which is strategically very important for Russia as well as Ukraine.
Ukrainian troops with their newly supplied military platforms have shifted tactics from defensive to offensive in the region. Ukrainian drones recently sank 2 Russian patrol boats near the Black Sea Snake Island, indicating that the war is far from over. The destruction of the Russian Slava-class cruiser and the flagship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, Moskva, the 600-foot, 12,500-ton displacement, was a massive blow to the Russian Navy.
Russian operations in the Black Sea are being considered extremely significant, and the Ukrainian forces have put in all their resources to defend the Black Sea. It is apprehended that amphibious attacks are likely to take place from the Russian side. There is a huge fleet of the Russian Navy in the Black Sea. There are about 24 warships, several submarines that are there in the Black Sea.
With fierce fighting in cities along Ukraine's southern coast, the key city of Odessa is preparing its defenses to protect the port city from an amphibious attack. On the Russian side, Moscow is strengthening its naval presence to break Kyiv's morale and resistance.
Can you give us a sense of what the situation has been in the south of Ukraine, especially the threat from the Russian side in the Black Sea? What kind of activities they have been up to?
The situation is stable and is under control. However, the Russian Federation still keeps the ships in the Black Sea, which is of threat to Ukraine. And the risk of rocket missiles launch is very high right now.
What kind of deployment do they have in the Black Sea?
The situation right now is dynamic and it changes all the time. But currently, they have several warships which keep the cruise missile on board, as well as several submarines.
Russians and Ukrainians fought together in the Second World War against the Nazi Germany. And this war memorial in Odessa is in memory of those who laid down their lives during the Second World War. And now this war memorial is even more significant as far as the Ukrainians are concerned. Especially the Ukrainian military says that this war memorial now represents the fight and the valor of the Ukrainian soldiers who are taking on the Russian assault. With camera person Parminder Sharma, this is Abhishek Bhalla in Odessa for India Today.
India Today's Foreign Affairs editor GEETA Mohan has been tracking the updates both in Ukraine and Russia. Now she brings you this report from the iconic Levandia Palace from Crimea's Yalta. Levandia's palace is the place where several key decisions were taken during World War II. Here's a report of how from World War II, today also it has so much importance as Ukraine faces bombardment. Take a look.
A slice of world history. We are in Yalta in Crimea, and this is the Levandia Palace. This is where history was made. World order is changing now with the Russia-Ukraine war, but we see that this was the very same place where World War II saw some very important decisions taken amongst the Allied forces. What are those decisions and what really happened? We'll take you inside to show you exactly what and why this Levandia Palace is important and what was the Yalta conference. This is the room, and that's the photograph of that meeting, that one-on-one meeting that took place apart from the conference with a huge delegation and the three Allied countries. There was a meeting between Stalin and Roosevelt, and the decision over here was that Soviet Union should continue and participate in the Pacific theater as well, to not just defeat Germany here, but to defeat Japan, which was a bigger problem for America. And to get that, to achieve that, Roosevelt had to give in to the demands of territories that Russia wanted back under its control. That's why this room becomes historic, because if Japan was not defeated, then World War II would not have ended. And Japan's defeat, certainly the Soviet played a very, very critical role in that defeat. This is the historic room where the concluding document of the Yalta Conference was signed among the three leaders, Roosevelt, Churchill and Stalin. A very important document that you can see over here, but there's an interesting story to tell on how the signatures are placed and why are they placed in the manner in which they're placed. Diplomacy at work over here to see who comes first, who comes last. Alexander, explain to us what really happened over here.
He proposed, why not we will try the order of English alphabet. So he comes first and places his signature first one.
Okay. So Churchill, as we know, a very shrewd politician of his time, knew that he did not want to come last. Stalin, certainly as host, did not want to come first, and so Churchill's idea of using the English alphabet order worked well for everyone, with Churchill at the top, Roosevelt, and then Stalin right at the bottom. But this is that very same room, and the photographs over there clearly show the historic significance of the Yalta Conference. Where I stand today is where the world leaders, the three world leaders, stood and then sat. This fountain didn't exist then. There were three chairs, and the famous photograph that you see everywhere of the three leaders at the Yalta Conference is in this very same courtyard. They sat right here, trying to change how the world is going to look, ensuring that there is peace. The world order then was very different from the world order today. They fought for a United Nations. Today, the very same world leaders are absolutely divided, questioning the very same organization that they helped build, create. There are many countries who are now questioning the legitimacy, the strength, the power of the United Nations. Many questioning the principles of various countries. While Yalta Conference was one of the crucial conferences to end World War II, we are on the brink of yet another war. Can the world come together to bring about peace, is the question. With journalist Satya Rautre in Yalta, GEETA Mohan for India Today.
Meanwhile, in the United States of America, First Lady Jill Biden met Ukrainian refugee school children and their mothers. This also in Romania as part of a tour of nations, and that specifically focusing on Ukraine and providing humanitarian assistance in dire times. Biden basically visited a Romanian public school. hosting Ukrainian refugee students accompanied by Romanian First Lady Carmen Lohannis. They heard stories of heroism, of survival from the Ukrainian mothers who fled to Romania with their children following the Russian invasion of their country.
Come on. Hey, come on. Silvio. Come on. Incredible. Hey, Silvio. Get him out. Silvio. Come on. Incredible.